What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Matt, and tonight I'm joined by my good friend Ryan. Ryan, what's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
We're streaking. We're going streaking.
We're going streaking. We've got a special one because we're also joined by Kevin. Kevin, what's up, FQB?
What's up, boys? I heard we're going streaking.
We are going streaking. So again, welcome back to Tide Talk. We've got a 3-panel show tonight. I know you have many choices in your RIFC consumption, so we take a big gratitude that you're here joining us on Tide Talk. So crack a bear, cozy up, and it's Thursday, July 18th. We're back to talk RIFC's 3-1 road win versus the Birmingham Leigon. Just a reminder, each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel and click the like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. If you're not already using the Club Collector app, click the link in this episode description to get on that site and go into the code Tide Talk, all one word, to get a free pack added to your collection today. Gentlemen, a 3-1 road win. I think we anticipated this being a tough matchup. Let's start with you, Ryan. How psyched were you watching this one last night?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to get psyched when a goal is scored in the first minute of the match. It takes a lot of the stress out of the equation to start the game. So, yeah, overall, I was excited to see the boys out there. I knew this was going to be a test, especially as we have looked really good and played and gotten great results. So, nice to see us go down to Birmingham, where I know there was a lot of storylines going in with, half our team is like ex-Birmingham. So, good to see them put in a performance down there.
Sure, right on. Andrew Quadro says this show sucks. Just wait till the video clips come and I screw them up and put them in unsequential order. Then
You think it sucks now? Just wait.
Chef's kiss. I am wearing my Italian Perugia kit. Matt Hands will tell you all about that. But Kevin, how pumped were you watching this one?
I mean, Ryan kind of said it right. Kind of hard not to be pumped when you get a goal in 53 seconds. I think this one was a special game for us because we were able to play from a lead comfortably, and we closed out a game without any stress or drama, and we controlled it with the possession, and that shows kind of like it answers a lot of the questions that were still left in play.
I think that's a big talking point we're going to come back to a lot throughout this one. The way we closed this one out was definitely different and special as far as getting the job done. So let's look at that starting 11. It was Koke Vegas back in net, a back three of Frank Nodarse, Karifa Yao, Grant Stoneman. Nice to see Clay Holstead not in the back three. Always love to see that. The kind of four in front of that back three was Turnbull, Ibarra, Holstead, Quazera, with Fuzan in the 10, Dequa, and Williams up top. Ryan, I'll start with you because I know you've been chomping at the bit to go to this one. There was a lot of talk going into this about, Noah starting. And, I was guilty of this. Noah's a super sub. I don't know about him starting back in this one. Connor McGlynn was dropped for Stoneman to step back into the starting 11. You were team captain Noah to the fullest. Talk about that. How happy were you to see Noah retain his starting spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think the decision to me was pretty clear from last match. Number one, I don't think McGlynn had a very good game last one. He was hooked at halftime, only had 23 touches, looked pretty lost running around the midfield, which is hard for someone who is such a massive person to look lost there. But so really the decision then came down, who comes in there, like what's the dynamics. But I thought, number one, having Clay back in midfield, we've been talking about it for weeks. It's something that I have been dying to see. So, which is funny because I don't think he had a particularly great game there. But Noah also, I think, had a much better game than some people may have thought in the previous one. So I thought him retaining his spot was a no-brainer, and very happy to see him, shine in that role.
How about you, Kev? Were you happy to see Noah in the 11, or were you hoping to see him come off the bench?
Yeah, so I am camp Noah super sub. But, I think in this lineup, having him in a 10 role, he's creative. He's good if he's on the wing. He's good if he's in the center. And look, 53 seconds. I mean, it's hard to argue with, right? I thought much of the same with Ryan. Is Clay didn't have his best game. I think maybe that has something to do with going back home and playing in front of family. It's a psychological thing, perhaps. And also, like, aside from Noah's goal, Noah had some tough touches in this game too. But overall, I think the starting 11 was really good, and I'd be comfortable with them rolling that forward.
No, right on. Interesting with Clay, it almost looked like a tentative game from him, in my opinion. And I know the yellow card accumulation is out there. He's touching upon that. So, was he trying to play a little bit more cautious? Being back in the midfield, was subbed off in the 63rd. But I think that it was a short week for this team, and for him to get out there, get some positive minutes back in the midfield is only going to benefit it going forward. Kevin, you mentioned that 53rd second goal for Noah Fuzan and Rhode Island FC's fastest goal in club history. Let's take a look at it.
Parried out of play. This Rhode Island team, seemingly a shocking turnaround. This drops in kindly, and the early shot knocked in by Fuzan. Oh, wow, what a start for Rhode Island. It's the first minute of play.
So Fuson, fuck ESPN, CBS, whatever. Same announcers though, pretty much. But a very nice throw in from Turnbull to Dequa, who shouldered it down. And I think most players on this ball, Ryan, would take at least one or two touches before hitting it. But that nice shoulder or chest down, if you will, from Chico to Noah, the balls to hit it first time and the precision of hitting it first time. This was just an absolute class goal.
Yeah, I mean, we were blessed with a couple of really cool assists in this game from our forwards. So, yeah, nice of Chico to start it off. A little bit of flash, a little pizzazz. I said it right after the goal in the Discord, but it seemed like the team was playing with a little bit of confidence, especially once Noah scored. He really was had a bit of swagger in his game, I thought. He was really playing a little bit freer, which I think sometimes he hasn't always had that, which I think is the games that he's looked a bit tentative, where he's almost caught between two decisions. He was doing a great job just sticking to his guns. Floating through. I thought he was just making great runs out to the wing, tucking in. He just looked like a very free 10. And yeah, for him to have that great interplay with Chico was great. One thing we did in this match, which we'll talk about in another goal too, is we were great on throw-ins in like the attacking third and the other team's third, just being really quick so that the defense didn't have a chance to settle. So yeah, you saw a great example of that there when Turnbull gets it, chucks it over to Chico, and magic happens. So.
No, right on. Kev, share your thoughts on this goal. We talked about it, but you can't help but lament as much as possible in it, because fastest goal in club history. It was a nice quick throw by Turnbull, a really nice touch by Chico, and just a really class finish from Noah.
Two things on that for me. Again, with Ryan, the quick throw in. A lot of times, I've mentioned it on the corner several times, there's a lot of really slow restarts in the USL, specifically Rhode Island, and you got to get the ball moving. Like, if you want to get ahead, you want to play aggressive, you got to be quick on the upstart. So that was really good. And for me, the biggest thing about this goal was no extra touches, no extra steps. He was in the right spot. He hit it. If he had touched it one more time, who knows if there would have been some deflection or some interference. I'm a big proponent of, you have the ball, shoot it. Like, if you have the opportunity, you got to take it. So I was happy with it.
That's pretty well said. I think on this panel, we're probably a 2-to-1 divide on who we want to see starting between the sticks for this RIFC team. If I can speak correctly, I think
where did this come from?
I think it's Kevin and I would be team Jackson Lee and Ryan's team Koke. But Koke was called into service pretty early and made a really nice diving save in the first half. So let's take a look at that.
Traditionally Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Martinez playing in and struck toward goal and knocked aside. An epic save from Koke to deny McCartney. Again.
So Kaylor, who we had on the away end, had a really cool video of this from the backside. So you're not following Kaylor on social media, go find him on Twitter, Instagram at Kaylor Hodges. Had a really cool video of this. Rhode Island FC actually retweeted it. I don't know if they reposted it on any of the other platforms, but Koke had a couple moments where I think his line was a little high during this one, and it caused a little bit more excitement that needed to be on a couple of particular plays. But overall, a solid performance. But I see moments when Koke is in net that we have a little bit more of like a a little more cringe moments when the ball's being played deep or over the top of Rhode Island FC's defense versus when we see Jackson Lee in net. Thoughts on Koke and his performance and, keeping this spot, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, he had another game, another two big saves that kept us in it and kept us from either going level or potentially worse. So I think he did everything he needed to do to keep the spot. My thing with the whole we get tense watching him. I think his aggression, while it obviously has some downsides to it, I also think I know I was maybe the only person who there was a moment where he came out and it got a little dicey. He didn't get to the ball, but he ends up turning the guy away. To me, the hard thing about all these situations is we can't then hit a button and say, okay, what happens if he doesn't come out? Because to me, I actually think that was the right play for him to rush the attacker so that the guy had made a quick decision and he boots it aside. So because all of a sudden, if that guy's then barreling down on him one-on-one with control, he then can get a really easy shot off. So this also, again, it goes back to just personal preferences of goalkeeper styles. I like the Pep Arteta, basically an outfield player playing in goal. So I am used to watching this. So maybe that's why I don't get so nervous, but I understand the hesitancy. I just don't think, I think it's hard to then say the outcome could have been different because we don't really know.
Fair enough. I think the biggest thing with Koke is it seems kind of last minute when he comes out. And I know that's his style. I know that is what it is. But Tyler puts in the chat that John Morrissey had a nice thought on Koke about how he helps provide numerical advantage on long balls when he joins the back line in possession. I think that's what you talked about with the Pep and the Arteta piece. But FQB, give your thoughts on the Koke Lee debate.
All right. So first off, we're blessed to be able to have this debate. Because we have two tremendous keepers, right?
Yeah, I want to be clear that me being back in this whole Koke corner here, I'm team both of them. I actually really like them both.
And I do, Kevin, before you go off on this one, I want to go back to a comment Tyler made. Hearing about their keeper woes, so Birmingham's keeper woes, has me extra thankful for our situation in net. And we are blessed to have this 1 and 1A keeper that we have here at RIFC.
Yeah, so for me, look, Koke made some tremendous saves, right? He has before. He'll continue to do so. He doesn't hold on to the effing ball. He parries it away. He bounces it off. He pushes it out, and it's a chance for a rebound or a second ball in. Not only that, I'm in the old school mindset of defense wins championships. A goalkeeper is the master defender. If you're going to be conservative on a place in the field, be conservative at keeper. Let the risk aversion and all that stuff happen inside the 18 and all of the risk taking happen in their final third. You want to take chances? Take those 2% shots from outside the 18, Ryan. But keep it safe inside the 18. That play where Koke came out, I mean, did he make the right decision? Yeah, because he didn't score. But it had me biting my fingernail. So again, I mean, I'm Team Lee, but I'm also obviously Team RIFC winning. Mm-hmm. And right now we're winning with Koke, so I'm happy.
Right. I think that's as good as it said. Timmy wants to thank you for ruining Koke and talking about all of the parrying instead of catching. But yeah, it is something that is true. So like Scott says, Kevin's spitting facts. First half, outside of that goal, was pretty wide open. I think Birmingham had a few really good chances. They hit the bar. They got in behind a couple of times. They just weren't clinical. It seemed our back line was playing a little bit higher than we have been. But I think that first half was really a Kano masterclass, if you will, of I know this team. And we talked about this with Kaler in the preview. He let Birmingham have 60% possession to just 40. Shots were equal at 7 each, 2-2 on target, one big chance each. Noah missed a wide open break as well, so a big chance. But outside of that goal, I do think this first half was pretty evenly played, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I commented on it that it was a bit of a basketball match, like a basketball game, because it was just back, forth, and I hate that. I like a lot more control, especially when you're winning. But at the end of the day, they had a couple chances, nothing too significant, which you'll take. We had a couple of chances. So at the end of the day, going into half 1-0, when I think we probably imposed the style of play we wanted to play more. You know, that
Totally.
they had more of the ball. We kind of were able to sit back in shape, didn't give up a ton of chances. So I think I remember with Kaler, you guys were talking about almost like who's going to be able to figure out how to play this,
right?
Because neither of us want the ball. So who's going
to impose their style more? That was the big question. And it's a funny answer because to give Birmingham 60% possession, you would think like we let them impose their style more, but I disagree. This was Rhode Island FC imposing their style more, and I think the first half totally showed that, Fluff.
Yeah, I think again, everyone knows I'm pro let your opponent, control the possession. You sit back and you wait for your moment in transition, and we found success in that time and time again. And I think this game in particular, there's been some polls out there like what's been our best performance, what games made the difference maker. I think now we have it figured out. Like we're just into the second half of the season. This game showed that we know who we are, and we're deploying that tactic. And it worked well for us. So, during the first half, I was a little bit nervous because I was waiting for that second goal to come to go into halftime. And it didn't come, but we weren't giving up a lot. So I was like, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. It will come.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well. I think that, going into halftime, it was who's going to get this next goal, and whoever gets this next goal is really going to put the foot on the pedal and kind of, or foot on the throat, if you will, and dominate this game. But we were able to see some balls out. I think the back line played really well. I think Stoneman played really well in this one. So I did want to take a few minutes to talk about him. Obviously, he started that first game. He got hurt, and I believe it was the Monterey Bay game. I see the chat going on in there. So the second game of the season, but Bob had him at a 6.9. He played all 90 minutes. So we've seen him in 2 substitution roles. He completed 31 of 38 passes, so an 82% pass success rate for a center back is pretty solid there on 48 touches. He did play 2 passes into the final third. 3 of 6 accurate long balls, 3 clearances, 1 headed clearance, 1 interception, 4 defensive actions, 3 recoveries, 2 duels won, 1 duel lost, and was fouled once himself. So I think Stoneman came in. I think he slotted in fine. I think it wasn't a tremendous performance by any stretch of the mean, but I think allowing Clay, and we'll talk about Clay a little bit more, not having his best game as we kind of reference, but allowed Clay to get into that midfield, and it allowed some of those forward players to play a little bit better and play in more of their natural position.
Yeah, I mean, one thing too about having Stoneman back is like he kind of gives us that senior presence out there. He's definitely one of the older players in the roster, especially paired up with Frank and Nodarse, Nodarse and Yao, who a little bit younger, have a little bit more of a overexcitement error in them. So I thought he was a very calming presence. Like I didn't notice him, which is perfect from a defender. Like he just did his job, went out there, was great. One thing I think is interesting with him coming back is at the first couple of games of the season when he was playing, he was the center back, and now Kano has him off to one of the sides. I think he was on the left last night. So we'll be interested to see if he does change that. It seems like Kano has been just sticking with Yao down the center, which isn't the way that I prefer to have like your best passer in the center. So I don't think that's Yao. So it's working. So I'm not gonna complain about it. But just as people get healthy and he has more options back there, we'll be interested to see what Kano does.
I was going to say, and thinking about hearing you talk about that, I think that's more about Yao and kind of what he does. Yao's going to throw in that crunching challenge. Yao is that sweeper. Like he's going to play out and he's going to, not even sweeper, more of a libero. Like he'll come out, he'll put it in a challenge. He'll carry it out a little bit if he needs to, and just tap a short pass up.
You played too much Football Manager with this libero.
Sorry. He'll tap a pass out to somebody who can get it to the advancing players. But I think Kano trusts Yao, and I think that's the big piece of it. He knows that he can flank Yao with 2 better passers, and he can have Yao back there to just be that last ditch, defensive back in there to clear things out.
Yeah, because I think it almost seems like the way we're constructing this team is that like the out balls aren't going through the middle. It's going either through the outside center backs to the wing backs or up to JJ. It's like we're kind of bypassing our Ibarra Clay area. So
no, right on. Evan says Yao was playing more of a zone and it worked, and I saw that. Yao,
he's been for a while. It's like it's been a really interesting tactical too.
To give it the American football, he's almost like a free safety. He's that further back that's going to sit there and pounce where needed. Kev, hop in on this and your thoughts on Stoneman coming in and kind of solidifying that back line and how it affected the rest of the 11.
Yeah, so I was the first 2 games of the season. I was kind of like not a huge fan of Stoneman. I saw some things I didn't like, and he was in the center position there. Seeing him last night, much to what Ryan said, you didn't really notice he was there, which is a good thing because there was nothing going on his side. He did his job well. I will say, as defense as a whole, Yao had a phenomenal game. Usually Yao's good for 1 or 2 really giant oopsies.
Right.
Didn't happen. As a matter of fact, for the first time,
that's very tame for you calling it an oopsie.
That's how you know this is the Tide Talk show instead of Clog Corner.
So for the first time, though, I would say that I kind of put my focus on Nodarse on the back line, and I actually saw him make some of those errors that usually you see from Yao. It will be interesting, though, when Gabby is fully healthy, who is a tremendous passer, who has that same set of skills, who's going to play where and who's going to get the starting role. Obviously, Gabby needs to come up to speed again, but we have a lot of defensive options, and it's a good problem to have. Just excited for the roster to be fully intact and see what we do moving forward. It's all about getting Clay out of the defense and letting those guys create up the field. So.
Right. And I think anytime you can add a Grant Stillman who is on, I think he hit his 100th appearance in the first game of the season or whatever, so he's much a league veteran. Gabi looks like a league veteran, as far as his appearances compared to Yao and Nodarse. So if you're able to get some of those younger guys paired up with some of these older guys who are going to talk and communicate and kind of bark the orders out, it's only going to be beneficial for them in the long run. But the start of the second half wasn't all roses as Birmingham got on the board in the 50th minute from Prosper Kasim, and Kaylor warned us about this. He was totally right about this. This was just an absolute beautiful goal. It was a well-worked goal. I don't fault any of the defenders at this. I don't fault Koke on this. Ryan's got a head tilt, but we'll take a look at it and just look at the first touch that Kasim took on this was absolutely top class, and the strike itself was as well. So here's a look at that goal.
Galloping into space. Here's Kasim. Kasim curling. Oh! Oh, wow! A masterclass!
The spacing and the position of McCartney and the willingness to drive at this back line for Rhode Island. But this first touch from Kasim is exquisite. Against the run of play, Frank Nodarse can't do anything. He's frozen. About a yard or two to space. Lethal left foot. Gets his foot around it and just watch the hips at the last second. He closes them. Not even a courtesy dive from Koke Vegas.
So I will add before we get into it that the smoke cannons behind the goal for Birmingham are top notch. Something I hope we can look at adding at Tidewater. As soon as the goal goes in, the smoke goes off. That's really well played. Kevin mentioned some Frank Nodarse moments, and having watched it back, I guess if you're gonna blame anyone, it's Frank on this one. Frank was tucked in way too centrally. So I'll actually start with Kevin on this one. Kevin, your thoughts on this goal? First off, you got to give Kasim credit though, because that first touch absolutely froze Frank. But if Frank was a little bit wider to begin with, I think he could have broke it down and clamped down a little bit easier.
I actually want to start a little bit before that because I think it was Tyler in the chat, but there was a really shit turnover in the midfield that started this whole run forward. But aside from that, yes, the ball from Kasim's beautiful. But what was that by Nodarse? What was he doing, like a ballet move? Like, he didn't commit at all. He just kind of threw his leg up No, it was really, really bad. You need to get in front of the ball, sacrifice your body. If somebody's taking a shot, you need to be in front of it. I didn't like that at all. I will say about that play though, and I didn't notice it until we just watched that replay. Bravo to Koke. He, I don't like the stupid yellows for time wasting, but him keeping the ball away from them by doing little ball tricks, that was funny.
That was good stuff. The turnovers have always led to bad goals for us as far as this season. But, you mentioned Nodarse not sticking a leg out. And I think a lot of that had to do with his positioning before that Kasim touch. So, Ryan, hopping on this one.
Yeah, you nailed it. Actually, number one, before I even say this, I hope that we can do some cool light show stuff like that at Tidewater. I think Colorado had something cool going on with that. I think Louisville did too. something for the folks at RIFC to think about. But yeah, I've criticized Frank a couple times. I think he's grown a ton. I gave him a ton of praise in this last episode, but one thing is he just had these moments where he almost looks a little bit lazy on the defensive end. And in that moment, if he would have read Matt Hans's great lookout pre-match blog, he would have known that Kasim basically only has a left foot. So why shadow him to his right as if he's going to make a run down to the touchline when you could really just favor that left foot and get a body in front of there just to avoid that shot. So to be clear, amazing shot by Kasim, great touch by him. But I would like to see a little bit more just intensity in that moment from Frank to be on alert there.
I think that's another reason players should listen to Tide Talk and buy into the blogs, because Kaler drilled it in. Like, Kasim's going to come down on the right, he's going to cut in on his left, and he's going to score a goal. Those were his exact words.
And no offense to him, he's not Arjen Robben where it's going to happen, but it's going to happen anyway. No, Frank could have definitely shadowed that left foot.
Except, but Frank got caught up too centrally in being in help mode, and Yao was there, so there was no need to be as central as he was. And then by the time he drifted out, he had absolutely no help in it going forward there. But you got to give him credit, because he did make that first move, and it was just a wonderful goal for them. But 63rd minute, I think a few of us were scratching our heads as Zachary Harival came in to make his 100th appearance in the USL Championship and came in for Clay Holstad. And like we mentioned, Clay was not on his best performance on this one. FOTMob gave him a 6.9, so he was our joint lowest rated player along with Ibarra and Stoneman. I don't know if this was just him not having played midfield in a bit, or like I said, him kind of conserving, knowing he's on that yellow accumulation. But 63 minutes, 74% pass accuracy, completed 20, 42 total touches, 1 out of 2 successful dribbles, 6 passes into the final third, 3 out of 5 accurate long balls, 1 out of 1 tackles 1 block, 1 clearance, 3 defensive actions, and 4 recoveries. He won 2 duels. He lost 2 duels. Ryan, talk about Clay in his his time on the pitch in this one.
Yeah, so I think the theory that he was worried about the yellow card stuff is interesting, because the reason I was critical of Clay's performance is more his passing. He just seemed to be very, very off all night, and maybe that is.
I think your quote as we were texting watching this was his rangefinder is off.
His rangefinder was off. Yeah, there was just a couple that I think you said he was 3 for 5 on long balls or something like that. But there was a couple that were just nowhere near anybody, and that's when I think I sent the message of what's going on with Clay. Yeah, he just seemed to be a bit off. Maybe it was him not being used to being up in midfield, even though I don't know.
He grew up playing it, right?
Yeah, and also that right center back role isn't that far off. So yeah, everyone has off nights. It's like I said earlier when we were criticizing Chico that form is temporary, things can happen. So hopefully he can bounce back, because as I've said, Clay is my favorite player, and I think he's been the most impressive performer throughout the year so far. So
I think where I came up with in thinking and reflecting back on this game with the whole yellow card accumulation thing was I felt like when you watch a typical Clay performance, he is here, there, everywhere. He's Roy fucking Kent. He is absolutely all over the
and picking up yellow cards.
Yeah, and picking up the yellow cards. And I think I said it pre-match in the Defiance Discord that my biggest concern with him returning to the midfield was, maybe a tactical foul, because that's him. He's a tactical savvy player. If he's beat, he might just throw a guy down, pick up the yellow, and boom, we miss him for a game. But his passing was off, and I don't know if that had anything to do with this hesitancy, but it wasn't the Clay that we've kind of grown to love and see in the midfield. FQB, your thoughts on Clay's performance?
Yeah, I said it early on. I wasn't super pumped on Clay for this match. I really do think that it was a psychological game for him. He's back in his hometown. He had a bunch of family in the stands. Sometimes that messes with your head. Ryan saying his rangefinder was off was perfect. He was just his passes went either a little bit too long or a little bit too wide, or wasn't enough. He wasn't himself, and I reiterate what Ryan says. He's definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite player. So tough break. It's either who's going to have a standout game in front of his home crowd or the opposite, and I think we got the opposite. I was happy to see him get subbed off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Timmy says in the chat, Clay has also the most minutes played on this team. It was a short turnaround between the Miami game and this one. Fella might just need a rest, and I think that's a really good shout, Timmy.
For sure.
And big shout out to Timmy who joined the Tide Talk team and putting out his blog with the player match ratings. Be on the lookout for that tomorrow. We'll share that out. Had a little preview on that. Timmy's a little harsh. I'm just going to throw that teaser out there. Timmy's
I have a lot of complaints.
Timmy's a little harsh on his rating, so we'd love to see you. So if you're not checking out any of the blogs, make sure you're going to TideTalkRI.com. We've got Timmy putting out the post-match player ratings. Matt Hands is doing a pre-match, and I'm going to tease it here now. There's a post-match beacon coming out from Matt Hands tomorrow. Make sure you check that out. It's really well written. And we're doing the trifecta tomorrow. We've got 3 blogs dropping. We've got the player ratings. We've got Matt Hands post match, and our good friend, and you see him in the chat here, Andrew Quadros, stepped out of his comfort zone and put together a really good mid-season award blog post. So we are going blog heavy tomorrow.
The man can type not only on a calculator. It's unbelievable.
The man is so worried about regulations and numbers and all of that, but he can put words together. He is a wordsmith. We're happy to have him as a member of the contributors team here at Tide Talk. Be on the lookout. We're staggering him throughout the day just for your viewing pleasure or reading pleasure. But we've got some really, really good shit dropping tomorrow. And I'll also say it. I'll say it now, and I'll say it again at the end of the episode.
Plug City.
Let's do it. Let's plug it out while we got it. We've got a fucking major bomba dropping from Tide Talk next week. So you are not following Tide Talk RI on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube. We've got a fucking nuclear missile dropping next week. So make sure you're out there. It's going to be really, really good stuff. So Ryan, did I miss something in the chat? On my rant? I'm sorry. All right, so I think I got it. Do we really need to talk about Zach now? I mean, we can't skip this, right? Like, this is what's up next. So, Zach Haraval comes in for Clay in the 63rd, and in the 68th minute, gets on the score sheet, gives RI the 2-1 lead. We unfortunately had to see a shirtless Evan because of this. It was a picture that will live in my brain in infamy. I think it's one of those ones where
I'm not showing it on here.
I will not show it on here. Kevin might do it on FQB on the Quahog Corner, but Kevin, Ryan, you're old enough to get this reference. You know how like you would go to your history textbook and like you get it at the beginning of the year, and it would say like go to page 68 and go to page 144. It'd be like one of those scavenger hunts that whoever had that textbook before you would lead you on this mystical thing. Like this would be the picture that you went to that you hoped had that. You know the 6 lines that made the S and like drawn all over it, the guy's eyes like colored out and like cigarette drawn out of his mouth. You would hope this picture would have been ruined by the person who had that textbook before you. Does that make sense? Do you guys follow me on that one, or is that like
unfortunately I do?
All right,
no, I'm tracking.
We saw this image, and it's an image I wanted to get the fuck out of my mind. Evan put a shirtless picture. It was terrible. It was awful. If you follow,
I have to give him credit. He's a man of his word. Unfortunately,
if you follow Kevin on Twitter, he shared it. Evan did say that if Zach scored, he was taking off his shirt, and it happened. And unfortunately, we had to witness that. But I guess the only thing to do from there is to go on and take a look at that first Zachary Haraval goal. So I'm gonna make sure I come in with my videos and get it right.
I mean, you know those Bob Lilly sides always resting on their laurels. Not quite. Ball taken away on a ham-handed pass. Williams. Back heel. Tees this up nicely. Oh, Rhode Island pull ahead again. It's Harivo in his 100th appearance against his former team.
So, Kevin, Ryan and I talk a lot about JJ's hold-up play and what he does. And although this wasn't a contested hold-up, this is still hold-up play because the ball was played long to him. We're still filtering in behind. He takes a couple of really nice touches and cuts centrally in the back heel. Chef's kiss. This was absolutely beautiful from JJ and just an absolute class finish from Zach.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing. We just saw it. There's nothing really to say about it. I mean, it was fantastic. He's like boxing out the defender behind him. He's leaning back. He's letting players get forward. He has a touch in front of the ball, and then that just ridiculously perfectly placed back heel pass. And I mean, he just let it rip, and nobody likes it better when people just let it rip than I do. So, the goalkeeper was standing still. He fell to one side. He was like, "What the fuck just happened?" It was absolutely beautiful. I didn't expect it, and in that moment, I was like, "Thank God they subbed out Clay, because this made the difference in the game."
And I think that when we saw Zach come on, it was like, okay, we're trying to like hold ground here and get a little bit more presence in the midfield. But to see him come on and think about it as as an offensive sub, which it ended up turning out to be, I think none of us saw. But Ryan, give us your thoughts on this goal.
Yeah, well, just one slight tweak to what you mentioned. It instead of like hold up play, it actually was JJ cutting out like a square cross pass, a square pass from them, which I was shitting on our defense for doing all the time a couple months ago. So love that we don't do that anymore. Love that Birmingham decided to do it. But yeah, once JJ started taking his touches towards the center, I was like, oh shit, JJ, what are you doing? No. And then he does the back heel, which is insane. But like, that's the kind of stuff we talk about when we talk about chemistry with people in the attacking third. These guys have played together a bunch. They had that, JJ could feel him making that run coming, and perfectly placed shot by Zach. So really, really good work. I know I mentioned him basically every week. John Marissi put out his USL Tactics on Twitter, his thread about the game. And one of the things that he praised Kano for was one thing they did with Zach was it was actually like a tweak based on what Birmingham was doing. So he started actually pushing through the midfield because
that space was there.
Space was there, and we saw it pay off like in spades. So great from Zach, great from JJ, and great from Kano there.
Yeah, I want to come back to you, Ryan. Like Ewan says in the chat, Dequa and JJ have elite link-up play. So we've seen it a lot from JJ. We've seen, JJ kind of bring that ball down and find people, but we obviously saw it from Dequa as well on the Noah goal. And I know you referenced it when we first started talking about the Noah goal, but the forwards had some really beautiful assists for us in this one.
Yeah, and I know in the beginning of the year we were all like really pining for JJ to come back for like 100 reasons. Like we weren't scoring. We weren't scoring. But one of the things that I think we kind of were praising Chico for was that he was like super active. He was holding people up, even though it's not necessarily his game. So to see the two of them really, they're putting in a shift and a half at the front of the team and really leading by example up there. And I think it's really helping people like Quizera, Noah, Turnbull, and Clay, whoever's playing, or Haraval, whoever is in that kind of more of attacking midfield area, really bringing them into the game. And yeah, more and more we're seeing that, especially with this change of tactics. Instead of playing out from the back, go long. It's really paying off in spades.
No, I think that's pretty well said. Unfortunately, 4 minutes later, we saw JJ go down in what looked like a pretty painful injury. I think we can only hope the best for him on that one. We know he had that preseason sports hernia. He looked very uncomfortable in his gait and his ability to put weight on his general walking. He was on the pitch post match and dapping everyone up and celebrating with the team. But Kevin, what were your thoughts on this one? Like, did you think anything long term to be worried about on JJ here?
Dr. Kev, let us know what's going on here.
Yeah. I mean, when I see anyone that I think is extremely valuable to our club go down and stay down, I say, well, fuck my life. Like, he was gone for too long at the beginning of the season, and we don't need him gone at the end of the season. So I'm hoping and praying that he just got a little roughed up and needs a little bit of time with a trainer, and he'll be good to go.
Yeah, right on. Evan says we need Doyle to step up badly, and Ryan and I talked about this and kind of dispelled it last episode. I would say we don't have another JJ, and I think Ryan would agree with me. I think Kevin, you'd agree with me big time on this one as well. That JJ has been the linchpin as far as this team's revival. He's been the spark plug. He's been the difference maker as far as his physicality, his ability to win duels, his ability to hold up play, his ability to bring the ball down. Doyle's not going to come in and do that. Noah can't go up top and do that. We need JJ Williams in there. So I look at this next stretch of opponents with North Carolina. You think about Hartford. You think about Detroit. This is a stretch that we need JJ Williams, and we need him to be healthy. these are 6-pointers. Obviously the fans are going to look at Hartford as Hartford being that one we got to win, but the North Carolina game is fucking massive. That is a 6-point playoff game. This was a 6-point playoff game versus Birmingham. Detroit could, it's very easily a 6-point playoff game, despite what they did to us at home. But all of these games are massive. All of these games are must win, because on any given night in the USL Championship, like we've seen, any team can go out and beat anyone in this one. I guess the good thing, kind of going forward in after that moment was just 5 minutes later, Zachary Harival, Evans guy Caribou again, got back on the score sheet, made it 3-1, tied. It was a beautiful assist from Stephen Turnbull. So let's take a look at this final goal that sealed the victory for RIFC.
Another multi-goal game for Rhode Island. That ball brought down. That's impressive. Turnbull comes back, and the rip is in. Oh, it's Haribo again. What a brilliant strike for Rhode Island.
This one was interesting because I think it was Turnbull did a lot to maintain the ball. He did a lot to possess. You see him kind of chop at it to pass it out, and no one was there. But he was able to find Hariva, who, in my opinion, on this one was kind of right guy at the right time, but still a very good finish and a very clinical finish. Kev, give us your thoughts on this goal.
Yeah, so for this goal for me was just putting the cherry on top of the sundae of me absolutely beating up Evan on the call-out corner on Monday night. So, it was just fucking unbelievable to see Zachary put another goal in. I mean, I'm gonna eat Evan alive on the call-out corner on Monday night. So tune in, shameless plug. So tune in for that. It was a great ball. Again, he struck it like first touch. He was at the right place, the right time. Turnbull held on to the ball as long as he could, and he just gave that little touch forward, and magic happened. And at 3-1, I was really comfortable for the remaining of the match. So
I think, I mentioned it, but I think Turnbull's physicality there to hang on to the ball and possess the ball and eventually find Zachary was just kind of put on top display on this one, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to like about this goal. Number one, we mentioned it in the beginning.
And Matt's got a good one on the chat, so feel free to build that into your response.
Well, so part of what happens to get to Matt's point here about Brito being trapped in the corner is I do love that we again went for the guy who's in the offsides position on the throw-in. I think it's something that's like extremely underutilized, and I actually think it like weirdly throws the other team off like often, like throughout like even the Premier League and like all these leagues, people just like aren't ready for it for some reason. So it starts off there, which is great. Brito then just yeets it because he's stuck. He just yeets it across. Turnbull is the MVP on this play. He keeps it alive, maintains control, holds the guy off, like does like a ton of work.
You see him want to pass it, but he takes like that chop. Like,
well, he also goes. He thought about shooting it too, which I like. Love that about him. He's like, whatever, right foot, left foot, I'll rip it. But yeah, the nice thing too is like Harival. Like obviously, it's an amazing shot, and it's nice that we mentioned this a lot last week when we talked about the substitutions, and I had some issues with the way that we went about substituting the midfield, especially because it was a lot less like for like. People who are a bit more of the defensive style midfielder, and having someone who can mimic a lot of what Clay can do, that can come off the bench and for Clay so that they can share a bit more of the game, I think will be huge. So the fact that Harival can come in, he can make a tackle, control the game, and also has a bit of a long range shot, I think is going to be super useful throughout the season.
And I think that's something that's pretty cool to have heard from two of our away end guests. So we had, our TB Rowdies fan who we did our Tampa Bay preview with send us a DM on Instagram the day the transfer went through. It was like, you guys got yourself a baller. And Kaylor came on and said, when Zach's fit, like he is one of the best midfielders in the league. So
it's weird though. My source Evan said he was horrible, so I don't know.
Exactly, but to think of this guy as a holding midfielder and see him come on and score 2 goals there as a sub for Clay Holstad is pretty impressive going forward there.
My only thing I want to make sure we preface with all this though is I think he's only ever scored 2 goals before this or something like that. So I think I want to be super clear that while him scoring 2 goals was amazing, I don't think we should always be looking for that. I think he still can be a very great midfielder without doing that. So let's not make that our expectation for
Oh
the rest
yeah,
ever.
for sure. I think when he signed, we all thought, midfield depth, holding midfield depth, midfield help. But I think when you start putting round pegs in round holes, it ends up playing out nicely for you. So you put Clay
Sounds like a guy who
Holstead.
has a couple of young kids.
Oh, hey, when you put Clay Holstead in the midfield and you're able to sub him out for another midfielder versus, sub out a defender and still have Clay Holstead in the midfield, things kind of go well, things kind of go
Or
correct.
even subbing Clay for like someone like Joe Brito, who Joe can do a job in there, but it's not the same kind of job that Clay can do.
Sure. And it was Ewan in the chat that said that was totally a pass from Brito. So he'll stand on that hill. He'll die on that hill. But
It was a pass. Every time you kick a ball, it's technically a pass. So
sure. Final 2 subs for Kano on this one were Mark Doyle coming in for Chico in the 84th, along with Colin Smith coming in for Jojea Quizera in the 84th. Kevin, Ryan talked about it, and you alluded to a little bit in your last answer, but your thoughts on the substitutions and the way that this RIFC team was able to see this one out compared to matches in the past.
I think the substitutions aren't really the highlight for me. Doyle's come on late in the last 3 games, hasn't really been a factor, which is, I think he's being underutilized. I don't think he's the greatest attacker in the game, but I think he's definitely aggressive and has a nose for the net.
Doyle's the kind of guy that he has to play a lot of minutes to be effective, but I don't think he's going to play more minutes over JJ or Chico.
No. But we had the 3-1 lead, and then we started playing this rudimentary triangle pass soccer game where we held possession and we played the ball back, we looked for space, we played through balls. It worked for us well, and it was nice to see us not be in a panic state and not get a lot of pressure in their final third, and us being like, are they going to get another one? Is it going to be a tight game at the end of the game? And that's what we're used to, and that's why I think that this was our best performance of the season, because we showed that we can compose, control, and finish the game. So
very, very nice, very nicely said. Final stats for this one, really kind of
actually, Matt, you mind if I just add on to that quick though?
Yeah,
because I had that as one of my big callouts. Just to reiterate everything Kevin's saying, we edged possession in the second half, which is not something that we've been doing. 54%. I bet if it was only that last 15 minutes, it was even higher than 54%. We were just stroking the ball around, going from defense to midfield to forward and back. It was incredible. Matt, if you
gotta love stroking it around.
You have to. If you wouldn't mind putting up that sofa score, what did I put it? Attacking momentum graph.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. So you'll see. So where the purple bars, you'll see that purple momentum just carries through all the way through the second half and even past the goals that we score. So they had a couple chances towards the end twice, but we were just maintaining the momentum there. And then Matt, if you could put the Calm XG one up. Nope, other one. Yeah, so you'll see that again, like looking at the cumulative XG, which is the bottom one, as well as even the expected threat across the way. Again, you'll see that it has a lot of green in there. So we were the ones who were just kind of maintaining that momentum, maintaining that throughout the entire second half, which was great to see, because when they scored, I was certainly nervous. But love that the team was able to say, nope, we're still going to attack, we're still going to play our game, and we're gonna come out of here and play our soccer.
Andrew Quadros wants to know, is this just Phil Tilt with another name?
It isn't. Fair point. I have nothing else to say on that. Yeah, no, not Phil Tilt. I wish I had Phil Tilt by a quarter of this game, because I, again, think this is about something else. We'll talk about it later.
You got it. All right. So they also wanted to add nice try, but you were not able to, do it without slides. So people want to let you know about that. But getting back into that second half, things leveled out and we were able to see it off. And I think that was my biggest takeaway. This was a professional hold on to the lead, see it till the final whistle.
Yeah, I think I said it was big boy soccer. It was big boy.
This was very big boy. This was big boy pants were on, saw it out, finished it off. And I think that's one big thing that as fans we would kind of hope for and kind of have been asking for. So whether that's playing the right people in the right positions or bringing on substitutions that can further enhance people playing in the right positions, or any combination of that. It's what we can only hope for. Birmingham, 53% possession on this one. They outshot us 14-13. We had 4 on target, 3 for them, 1 big chance each, 1 big chance missed for each. 330 accurate passes at 80% for Birmingham, 283 at 78 for Rhode Island. They committed 11 fouls to 10 for us, and early on we were picking up yellows quick. That it was like, oh shit, this.
I was so nervous about that.
Yeah, like very, very nervous on this one. They had 5 corners, we had 8, so we were pressing. We were getting in on that, getting the ball close to the goal, having them clear some balls out. Really good to see, but a very workmanlike performance and finish from this team. Kevin, overall final thoughts on the match and how we're able to see it out and the performance from the boys.
Yeah, I've said it a couple times already tonight. It was our best performance of the season in the way that we were able to play from a lead, and we didn't give up. We didn't concede a goal, a leveling goal quickly, and we were able to finish the game without any chaos or drama. I think everyone had a sound game. I don't think any one player was like, "Oh my God, this is insane," but everyone did their job and they did it well enough to get us the 3 points on the road in a game that's a 6-point game. And now you're in the thick of it. You got a spot in the playoffs. You're going into that's right. You're going into a very interesting part of the schedule. I think if we keep playing the way that we're playing, we're going to see this team not just settle for a bottom spot in the playoffs. And if you follow along on Twitter or you looked at some of the Reddit stuff today, you got people who are big fans of Louisville, who are fans of Charleston, fans of Detroit City. They'll be the first one to say they don't want to see Rhode Island in the playoffs. Why? Because we don't lose games. We don't lose games. We've lost some stupid games, and we've lost them because we lost the games. Our opponents didn't beat us. We lost the games for ourselves. So I think that the rest of the season looks really bright for Rhode Island FC.
Right. A couple of big points from that takeaway too are, we're on the playoff line. We now have more wins than losses. Our goal differential is now in the positive, and that's because of this trend that we've seen. The tide has been rising. The tide has been going up. I think it can only continue to go there. I do want to hit on a point on the chat before I get your final thoughts on the game, Ryan, from Jason Demers. I was kind of surprised on their poor attendance as well. I don't think it was poor attendance, and if you go back to Kaler's preview with us, they play in a 40,000 seat college football stadium. I believe it's UAB that plays there. So their crowd, might look like the average RIFC crowd, but it's dispersed among 40,000 seats, and they have 2 supporters groups for this team. They put 1 on each goal line, so that stretches it out even further, and it actually keeps the camera off them more. So it's a very interesting dynamic, a very interesting setup. Kaler did mention how loud it is when you're on the pitch and you're at pitch level. But I think the broadcast doesn't do justice to their fans and what they bring to this team, because, you could hear the drums throughout. You could hear chanting throughout. I watched Kaler's videos back throughout, and, there's some really cool moments from supporters. It's so dispersed throughout this absolutely massive stadium. It's almost like, the whole MLS playing in football stadiums debate, that they're spread out and they turn into libraries. But
I also wonder too if a lot of these teams, I wonder if the cameras on the same side as the majority of their stands.
Right.
Because I think we're actually in a weird spot where the camera for RFC games is going at our main stand.
That's a good point. That's
so I think I hope that Miami had some people on this side.
I think I said the same thing post match in our chat as well. But Tyler says would hate playing in an oversized stadium like that.
Oh, yeah.
Kaler told us that at pitch level it is very different. So
there was a couple of times where I think it was Yao, it almost sounded like he couldn't hear either the keeper call or someone else calling for him, and I was like, "There's no one at this game. How can you not hear anything?" But that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, very, very interesting there. But Ryan, overall, thoughts? Anything else you want to add to the performance for this one?
No, I mean, I think we summed it up well. I mean, it's been incredibly cool to go through the therapy sessions of this podcast where we were lamenting, and just to see the team grow and develop and come to a consistent way of play that's working. And I mentioned it a few weeks ago with the changing tides of Kano ball slides, where like this clearly isn't Kano's preferred way of playing, but he put his ego aside and he's found a way that his team has bought into and is effective. And yeah, hopefully we can just keep adjusting, keep tweaking, and keep just improving as the season goes on, because I just can't be more excited about this team.
I think that's pretty well said. I'm going to run through the socials on anyone's talking points. They're good, bad, the ugly. They're RIFC and 3. Then I'm going to come back to you two. So Ryan and FU. His first 3-word take of very, very many during this.
Uh-oh.
Matt, you're you were gone and then you were
Am
not.
I back?
You're
Am I back?
You're back. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. So I'm on Twitter. We started with Evan with I've said enough. I think it's his first of many 3-word reviews. He also had good defense, Zach, Yao, Turnbull, JJ for a bit. Fuzan, bad, ugly, first 15 minutes of the second half. Ugly, the Hartford wannabe kits. I didn't really like their kits either. Sprite, I know they've done Coke in the past. I thought they were and then his takes in his manly chest, he had the ugly, and that's a very loose interpretation of manly as far as the chest. So that was all on our post-match tweet. On RIFC and 3, FQB had Evan is shirtless. Evan came in with a whole list of 3 words. I am humbled. I got dunked. I got owned. I am humiliated. I am happy. A statement win. The tide rolls. So good for Evan for kind of owning up to all of that, and kind of keeping it going there. On Facebook, we had Steve Matz. I'm seeing a team that is bonding and having fun. You can very visibly see that. You can hear it on some of the calls as well.
Yeah, do you think that it seems like they're like practicing their goal celebrations, which is a team that's confident they're going to score goals? They have a couple.
I love Noah putting his arm up on the corner flag there, and waving everyone over, and just kind of chilling and celebrating.
Yeah,
up
we've
there.
seen that. We've seen like the picture celebration. We've seen a couple good ones. So
we've seen some good stuff there. Steve also adds sports psychology research has shown fun, and put in parentheses enjoyment, lack of stress, etc., to be a predictor of performance, and I think we are seeing it here. It's fun to watch too. So shout out to Steve. I think that's a really deep dive and well done take there. On the Defiance 36 Discord, we had Fluffy Evan is shirtless, so we got his there. His good, bad, and the ugly. We'll save it. We'll let him come back with you on this one. Leo O, who's gave us some great takes in the last couple of weeks. Good, prolonged spells of pressure in the attacking third. Noah and Zach playing with good energy and grit on top of their goals. Bad, intermittent lack of sharpness on the ball from key players. Clay, Ibarra at times, and JJ until the no-look assist, that is. So give Leo credit there on that one. And the ugly was the lingering sloppiness, lack of close-out pressure in the defensive third, especially in quicker transitions. I think that speaks to that, kind of Frank getting caught centrally sucked in on that goal. His 3 words was Herivao restored stability. Interesting there. Like that one. Taris had a question in there. Is the Birmingham game the best played games yet this year?
Yes.
Ryan says yes. Kevin said yes in his last take on that one. Leo came back in with, is our sloppiness in defense related to the formation and style of play, player selection, or a bit of both? Seemed like the pressure and composure defensively resurfaced after halftime, maybe a little before. Though I also think Birmingham ran out of gas in the second half, since we were a second tough box-to-box grueling game for them in 5 days. And I think the heat, I think the getting back in there on short rest for us definitely played a little bit of part in that.
Well, you know what's funny about that? I saw people on like social media talking about how Birmingham had came off a back-to-back, and that's why they dropped off in the second half. And then I was like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, wait a minute, so do we.
Shit, so do we, right?
Yeah. And also, I think Kaler said it's like 120 degrees on the field, which is like,
yeah, those artificial pitches run hot. Like, it is what it is. We had Tyler in the Discord. Good, Herivao, exclamation point. Bad, turnovers leading to goals. Ugly, no game for 10 days. And his 3 word was tide is high. Mike M, RAFC in 3. Good, workmanlike performance. And also added, workmanlike is only 1 word. He checked. So big ups to Mike for checking that out for us. Brian had RIFC in 3. Climbing the table above the playoff line is huge. Absolutely huge for us. And then our good friend Andrew Quadros, who understood how to use the bold function in Discord. So big shout out to Andrew. Again, be on the lookout for that blog dropping tomorrow. RIFC in 3. Zachary fucking Hervo. Good RIFC closed out the game in a stress-free manner, much of what we alluded to a little bit earlier. Took control of the game and didn't let up. Bad felt like they really struggled for most of the first half after scoring. Legion were definitely better for a big chunk of the game. Ugly, potentially injury to JJ, and then he put in parentheses, please be okay, JJ. I think that's one that we're all kind of crossing our fingers and hoping we can see JJ come in a little bit more. But Kevin, let's start with you. We got a couple of your 3 words with Evan is shirtless. Good, bad, and the ugly. 3 words, however you want to swirl it all together.
Yeah, so I'll go back to the Evan is shirtless one real quick. So Evan being shirtless, for those of you that don't know or weren't listening on early on this in this episode, so Evan had said that Zachary Hervo is cursed. He's a horrible player. Kano is a shit coach for bringing him on the team. All things negative and bad about Zachary Hervo. I mean, he could not control himself on how much he fucking hated this guy and how shit he was. And then he said, in no uncertain terms, that if he was to come on and score a goal, that he would go shirtless for the remainder of the game. And much to our surprise, he did, because not only did he get subbed on, he changed the outcome of the game. Like it changed the momentum, and we got our swagger back, if you will. And then he finished it with a brace. So.
I'll be honest, it would have been funnier if we were like getting blown out or something and he scored like a goal to make it like 4-1 and Evan still had to follow through with that bet, but this is fine.
No, I like the scenario better. I like winning. But so it goes to my good, bad, and ugly. I probably said things in all of the socials, but I think good is all things RIFC. Right now, it's just good. It's good to be an RIFC fan. The way we're playing is good. Where we are on the table is good. Our schedule up ahead is good. So all things RIFC is good. Bad, Evan's football takes. Ugly, Evan with his shirt off.
I think you can leave it at that. That is absolutely enough said. Ryan, hop in. Share your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so for my 3-word, for my RFC in 3, consistency is key. I think we have built this winning run on a consistent style of play that we have been able to replicate game on game. And I think that's been important because it allows the team to grow together, allows that style to embed and build, and it's been huge. So for my good, bad, and the ugly, my good was Kano again. I thought he put our best 11 on the pitch, and we saw that pay off for him. He's done some really interesting tweaks to this formation, especially the past 2 weeks. One of the interesting things I pointed out was when Noah has been playing in this number 10 role, he's actually been doing this cool thing where he's having Noah man mark their number 6, so they're like defensive midfielder. So Matt, if you could pull up that final the pass map one. Yeah, so you'll see that this is Birmingham's pass map, and you'll notice that there is not a single player who is standing in the middle of the pitch. And why is that? It's because Noah was man marking their 6, so that if he was going to get the ball, he had to move out to one of the wings. I think it was number 13 over here. So awesome tactical tweak by coach to really control the center of the pitch and limit chances from the other team. Let's see. Continue to really have some good small tweaks besides that. So we dial back the press a ton this match, which I thought really helped us finish stronger than they did. So our pressing intensity was a 16.7. Literally no idea how they come up with that number, but we for the season have been at 44.7. So it shows how like drastically less we press this game. And I think again, it really helped our stamina at the end. And then our subs were excellent. Zach for Clay, I thought really bolstered the midfield. And it goes back to my point from last week. I've said it before on this show, but not changing people like unlike for unlike when we're chasing a game. I thought moving Noah up front with Brito coming on was a great use of resources when JJ had to come off. And then Doyle and Colin Smith came on at the perfect time, brought fresh legs to the team, both to press up front, but also Colin Smith covering on the wing. So yeah, big ups to Kano. My bad was JJ. Obviously, very sad that he came off injured. Hope he's okay. I think he looks okay. He was in like good spirits, like even right away after. But I also thought he did struggle a bit in this one. He's normally a dual monster. He only won 3 out of 16 tonight, which is very off for him. Maybe tough playing against people who have practiced with you like every single day for a long time. But hey, even in a tough match, he still was able to generate impact with a great assist. So it's a good night when you're bad as someone doing so well that he generated an assist. And my ugly is not catching RIFC fever. If you have not caught the fever on this team, if you're not checking this team out, that's ugly as shit. This team is incredible. It's thrilling to watch. They're playing legitimately good soccer, and I just hope more people can get out to the games, can watch them, and join in on the fun, because this is a growing team, a building team, and one that's going to be around for a while. And I'm incredibly excited about it.
That's a really great shout, and I think along with the $10 ticket promotion the club has going on for the Hartford Derby, it will just absolutely increase that fan base. I think anyone that goes to that game as their first game is going to be like, holy shit, like this is legit, like this is good. Not even talking about the result, but just the atmosphere. I know the Defiance is out there building that tifo up tonight, so big shout out to Irvin and everything they've got going on for that. So I think anyone that goes there on a $10 ticket is going to be like, I'm in. Like I'm in. So I'm very excited for that. Good for me is the assist from the forwards. I think that's just, you mentioned it, and that kind of stuck with me. And they were both just really, really good assists. Bad for me. I don't even know where I want to go with this one. And I was going to go bad for Evan for his takes, but I'm going to go ugly. I'm going to go reverse order here. I'm going to go ugly. Actually, bad. Evan's takes. Ugly. Evan's fucking picture he sent us. That's it. It's simple. It's good. I'm not going to say anything bad about the performance of the team on this one. I'm going to leave it all up for good, on that. An interesting stretch of the schedule coming up. We've got North Carolina FC Saturday, July 27th at home. That's a 7:30 start. That is a massive 6-point game. They are right around us in the table. We've got Target Strike coming on next week for the away end. He joined us for the first preview when we were down in Cary, North Carolina. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You're on the channel and can go get into that one. They've been in a pretty decent form of lately. In their last 5, they've only lost one. It was a 5-2 loss at Charleston Battery. Their last time out was a 0-0 draw in Sacramento versus Sacramento. They beat Miami 4-1. They drew against Pittsburgh 0-0, and Pittsburgh's been a team that's on a pretty good rise as well. And they also beat Monterey Bay, who's kind of a shell, 2-0. So they're playing pretty well. They're in pretty good form, but this is just a massive game as far as the table goes. So again, make sure you're tuned in and you catch that away end episode. And like we said, if you're not already following our socials, you got to do it, because we've got an absolute bomb dropping next week. So excited. Scott mentioned in the chat we had it pulled up. We are so excited to talk about this one. But before we sign off, we'll kick it around to each of you. I'll start with you, Kevin. Final thoughts on this episode. Anything else you thought about this one, or what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, no, it's just really exciting coming on with you guys. This is fun. I've had a great time. Super pumped for everything that Tide Talk Media Group is doing. Bringing on a lot of new, fresh ideas with the blogs. A lot of exciting things happen around the club with the way we're playing. Everything's really good right now. I think we need to ride that wave and keep it going. And fuck Hartford. I mean, fuck them so hard. What a shitty, miserable existence of a place Hartford, Connecticut is. I would rather gouge out my fucking eyeballs with a dull spoon than have to live in Hartford, Connecticut. Fuck them. Up the Tide.
Up the fucking Tide, baby. I know people are asking when we're going to have Scott back on. I think we might be looking at a little Mousetrap QC collab on Monday, so make sure you also stay tuned for that. As I mentioned, tomorrow, Friday, we've got a bunch of blogs dropping, and then we're going to bring Scott back as our Hartford expert for the away end, so I know he's really looking forward to. He's got some more research, some in-depth detail on why Hartford sucks so fucking bad, so be ready for him to join us on that one. Ryan, your final thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, like I said, just catch the RIFC fever. It is a great place to be right now. If you have anyone in your life who is even remotely curious about this team, get them to a match. Use that link. We'll put it in the descriptions for that $10 ticket to Hartford. We want to sell that out. We want people to catch the fever. And yeah, definitely stay on the lookout next week. Huge news, legitimate news, not just us being dicks and like hyping something up. I'm very excited about it.
It's gonna change the way you view Tide Talk. That's the way I'm gonna leave it there. We're not rebranding. We're not.
That's fascinating. I'm intrigued at what you mean.
What's that?
I can't wait to ask what that means after this podcast. But yes,
like it's gonna change the way people view Tide Talk, and hopefully you interact with Tide Talk. So it's just it's really cool. It's kind of a first of its kind thing. I will leave it at that, and we're super excited for that. So make sure.
I will say it's not holograms. It's not holograms.
Damn it! I thought we had that in our budget, but. Most importantly, we take away a 3-1 win from Birmingham. So super excited, super awesome. We're above the playoff line. We're positive on our goal differential. We have more wins than losses. The tide is rising, and we got to keep riding that. So Jason says in the chat, what a dick tease. It's
Blue Ball City here. Blue Ball City.
It's gonna tease your dick when you hear it. So we will totally go in there. But like Nate says, catch the wave. RIFC again. Tune in. Make sure you link up with us. And Timmy says, great episode. Thanks, y'all. So
thanks, guys.
That'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. You can also hit our website for all these new blogs that are dropping and new content coming out there daily. Click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt, joined by FQB, joined by Ryan. Pleasure having all three of us on for this one. We thank you for taking the time to tune in with us. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next time. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.
Up the tide.